I would just remind him, in the last 2 years of the last Labour government, long-term unemployment almost doubled. So I think we should hear about that before we get a lecture. In terms of helping young people, it is also noticeable that under this government, 900,000 people have started apprenticeships. We're backing apprenticeship schemes, and we're also reforming our schools and welfare system so that it pays for people to get those jobs. We face enormous economic challenges in this country. Nobody doubts that. We have to rebalance our economy because the state sector was too big, the private sector was too small. But what's happened since the election is 1 million new private sector jobs, which more than makes up for the inevitable loss of jobs in the state sector. We've got a huge amount more to do, but reform welfare, reform our schools, boost our private sector, and Britain can be a winner in the global race.
Mr. Speaker, I would just say to him on long-term unemployment, there are more people out of work for longer than at any time for 2 decades, and that is happening on his watch. Now, I want to turn to one group in particular who are losing their jobs directly as a result of the government's policy. A year ago, he told me at this dispatch box, and I quote, "There is no reason for there to be fewer frontline police officers." Can he now tell the House how many frontline police officers have lost their jobs since the election?
The percentage of officers on frontline duties has gone up. I think that is the key. Frankly, whoever won the last election was going to have to reduce police budgets. They were committed to reducing police budgets. We've had to reduce police budgets. The reason why we've been able to increase the percentage is because we've cut the paperwork, we've taken difficult decisions about pay, we've taken difficult decisions about allowances. And what is remarkable is while the percentage of officers on the front line is up, crime is down.
Ed Milliband.
I really hope, just for once, we would get a straight answer to a straight question. And all the Prime Minister needs to do, they'll like this, Mr. Speaker, all the Prime Minister needs to do is take a leaf out of the Police Minister's book. Because on Monday, he told the House the truth. He said there are 6,778 fewer frontline police officers than when he came to power. Why not just... I don't think he's going to help you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe the part-time Chancellor's taking over the Home Office. Another promise broken. And they're not just breaking their promises, it's their conduct as well. This is what the Mayor of London said.
Order. It will just take longer to get in backbenchers who do wish to participate as opposed to shouting and screaming in a juvenile fashion, because I'll have to extend the session. The Leader of the Opposition will be heard and the Prime Minister will be heard. That is the end of it. Mr. Ed Milliband.
This is what the Mayor of London, Mr. Speaker, his new best mate, said last year at Conservative Party conference. I reckon we need to make it clear that if people swear at the police, then they must expect to be arrested. Oh, well, he says he didn't. He says from a sedentary position he didn't. Maybe he'll tell us what he actually did say, which he failed to do. Yet, according to the official police report, and I quote, a man claiming to be the chief whip called the police plebs, told them they should know their place and use other abusive language. Can the Prime Minister now tell us, did the Chief Whip use those words?
Prime Minister.
What the Chief Whip did and what the Chief Whip said were wrong, right? I'm absolutely clear about that, and I've been clear throughout. And that's why it's important that the Chief Whip apologised. That apology has been accepted by the...
Order. I said a moment ago that the Leader of the Opposition must and would be heard. The same goes for the Prime Minister. He must and will be heard. The Prime Minister.
What the Chief Whip did and said was wrong, and that is why it is important that he apologised and apologised properly. That apology has been accepted by the officer concerned. It's been accepted by the head of the Metropolitan Police, and that is why this government will get on with the big issues of helping Britain compete and succeed in the world.
No straight answers on police numbers and no straight answers on the Chief Whip. And, Mr. Speaker, just because a police officer... He says it's the real issues. I think it is a real issue, abusing police officers. just because a police officer has better manners than the chief whip, it doesn't mean he should keep his job. Now, if a yob in a city centre on a Saturday night abused a police officer, ranting and raving, the chances are they'd be arrested and placed in the back of a police van. And rightly so. And the Prime Minister will be the first in the queue to say it was right. But while it's a night in the cell for the yobs, it's a night at the Carlton Club for the chief whip. Isn't that the clearest case there could be of total double standard?
This apology has been accepted by the police officer. It's been accepted by the head of the Metropolitan Police. It's clearly not going to be accepted by the Leader of the Opposition because he doesn't want to talk about what we need to do in this country to get our deficit down because he's got no plans. He doesn't want to talk about how we build on our record in employment because he's got no plans. He doesn't want to talk about how we reform welfare because he's opposed to welfare caps. That is the truth. He wants to discuss these issues because he's got nothing serious to say about the country.
Here's the most extraordinary thing, Mr. Speaker. They say that I practice class war and they go around calling people plebs. I mean, can you believe it? And look, I have to say, it's good to see the Cabinet in their place supporting him in public, but in the newspapers, what are they saying in private? He's completely undermined. His position is untenable. In other words, he's toast. And that is the reality. And here is the truth about this government. While everybody else loses their jobs, the chief whip keeps his. If you're a millionaire, you get a tax cut. If you're everybody else, you get a tax rise.
Order, Mr. Kaczynski, I'm very worried about your health. You're shouting in a bizarre manner. Calm yourself, man, and get a grip. Mr. Ed Milliband.
Maybe he'll tell us whether he's getting the tax cut. They're totally out of touch. With this government, it's one rule for those at the top, another rule for everybody else.